Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are doing great. So in this video, we are going to talk about the second unit of the second chapter. That is going to be the logarithmic function. So let's start the discussion about the logarithmic function. Let me just write down the headings. The logarithmic function. So let's talk about it. Okay, all right. So we are talking about the logarithmic function. Let's just define that formally. If I talk about the formal definition of the logarithmic function, you can think about it this way, that if we have an equation y equals b power x, I can write it in a similar way using log. I can write this power x is equal to log with base b and y. Okay, this is basically the formal definition of the logarithmic function. This was a simple equation, y equals b power x. I can write down the same idea, the same concept using logs as x equals log by. This is the base, because this is the base, this is the power, and this is why. We will be talking about some questions and then things would get very, very clear. Okay. All right. So we have two special cases. Let's talk about them as well right now. We have two special cases. Whenever we have a special case there, we don't talk about the general definition. We are going to just understand. This is worth remembering. This is how it is. Okay. So number one, for any b is any number, if you have log b1, this is going to be equal to 0. Why is it 0? It is 0 because if we think about the underlying concept says y is equal to b power x. And if I talk about this context, so I can think about it. I have b and y is 1, and now we are looking for some x. So any number is 1 whenever the power of that number is 0. So this is going to be 0. Since x is 0, since we have an x here, that is why this is how it is. And if I talk about another scenario, so again, for any value of b, log base b and b power n is going to give you n. Okay, why is it like that? Now you guys are coming from the AS and then O levels, so you would be knowing this is b. You would be knowing that this number comes right here, and log b is going to be 1. That is why it is n. So even if you were not able to understand this, these two are special cases which you need to remember every time, and things would get clear in I would say 20 minutes or by the end of this class. Okay, you guys would be able to understand everything. For now, we did not talk about any examples, so I'm pretty sure things would be jumbling up in your mind, but once we talk about some examples, it would get very, very clear. Okay, let's talk about some examples. Let's talk about example number 1. All right, let's just discuss some questions. All right, let's talk about some questions. Okay, now the question says find the value of, and now we have several parts. Okay, so let's talk about 3 questions over here, just so we are able to see multiple examples of same type. Okay, part A says log 16 with base 2. Then part B is log 243 with base 3. And then the third part says log 1000 with base 10. Let's talk about the solution of these questions, okay? Now, one thing should be clear, and that thing is, let me just write it down here. Whenever we have y equals b power x, its logarithmic form could be x equals log base b y. Similarly, if I have this type of a thing, I can think about it this way. This is y, this is y. So I can write it as, I know that it would be y equals b power x. I'm actually interested in finding out x. So y is going to be 16. It's 16. And when we talk about b, b is this base. Basically, that is why it is called b. So it is going to be 2. And it would be 2 power. And now power is what we need to find. Power is what we need to find. So that is going to be 4. So I can think about it as it is x equals 4. And this is basically going to be the value of this one, right? So the value of this thing is going to be 4. Similarly, again, let's talk about another question. Now, if you will again and again think about the previous parts and then do it, it would be very, very complicated. So let's just try getting used to this concept that this is your number. It's 243. And we are going to write it down as y. It's 243 equals, this is the base 3. Now the value of this entire thing is going to be something that I will write down in the power of 3 to make it 243. And that something would basically come by hidden trial method. 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. Then 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 is 27, and so on. If you multiply 3 5 times, this would give you 243. Now this number is going to be the value of it. So x is equal to 5. Now 5 is the value of log base 3 243. The value is going to be 5. Okay, and obviously you guys are doing this without calculator. If you do it with calculators, things are very easy. But another issue is that in calculators the standard base is 10. So this time around the base is changing continuously, right? So that could be an issue. Anyways, let's talk about the third part. Again, this is the number. I'll write down this number over here equal to this base. Write it down here. I need something in the power, and that something is going to be the value of this entire thing. Okay, so that something would be 3 in this case. That's very obvious. It means that x is equal to 3, and whatever value you get for x, log would basically be equal to that value. Okay, all right, let's talk about one more question just so the idea gets clear. Part number D, or the fourth part, it's log with base 7 and the value is 343. Again, the concept is same. 343 would be written here. There it would be 7 and 7 power something. The 7 multiplied by 7 is 49, and 49 multiplied by 7 would give you 343. So it would be 7 power 3. So this means that x is equal to 3. So this means that log 7 343 is equal to 3. This is going to be the answer. Okay. So I assume that things would be, getting better. And this was the first type of question that the examiner can ask, right? Let's talk about some more types just so we get clear with the idea. Okay, now we will be practicing some more questions over here. So let me again just make some lines. Okay, now it is question 2. It is question number 2. And part A says, find the value of log 1/8 with base 2. Then part B says log 2 with base 8. And this would take more space. So I'm writing down the third part here. It says log 1/2 and 4, right? So these are 3 questions that we need to discuss at this point. Let's talk about them. Okay. So let's talk about these questions now. All right. So again, the idea is same. The concept is same. First of all, I am going to write down this number. The number is 1/8. I'll write down over here. I'll write it down over here. Then we have base 2. Now, what power of 2 would give you 1/8? Think about it, okay? It could be a negative power as well. I know that 2 cubed is 8, but I'm not sure what exactly would give me 1/8. Think about it. Okay. All right. So the power could be -3 in this case, right? So this is the power. Again, whatever the power is, that is going to be the value. This was x. X turned out to be -3. This means log 1/8 with base 2 is going to be -3. Okay, all right. Let's talk about the second question. Now I would want all of you to participate in this and think about it. This is the number. I'll write down 2. 2 equals 8 power something. And that something should make 8 power something equals 2, right? So what number should we have in the power of 8 in order to make it 2? Obviously, it cannot be a positive number or negative number. It is about a fractional number. We know that cube root of 8 gives you 2. So cube root is basically 1/3. This means that x is equal to 1/3, and this means log base 8 2 is equal to 1/3. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the third part then. For the third part again, this is the number that I need to write down. So it's 4 equals, and then the base is 1/2. Okay, now I need something in the power of 1/2 that would make it 4. So first of all, I need to bring I know that 2 square is 4, but this 2 is in the denominator. So in order to bring it to the numerator, I need a negative power. So I can write it down as -2. Now -2 as the power would give me 4. So again, x is equal to the power that was -2, and this means that log base 1/2 4 is equal to -2. And again, you guys would not be able to find these values using a calculator, because in calculator we only have one base, that is 10. Okay, all right. Okay, so yes, that is the idea. Let's talk about a few more questions and then that's it. Okay, so let's talk about all right. Let's talk about the next part, or maybe let's practice one more question and then we'll talk about the next part. Okay. Question number 3 says, write these in the form y equals b power x. Okay, so first part is log base 2 64 equals 6, and you need to write it down this way: y equals b power x. So how do we write it down? We know that this number is basically y, this is y, then this number is b because it's the base, and then this is the power. So this is going to be the answer. If I talk about another question quickly, so let's say we have log base k m equals p. Again, this number right here is my y. Y equals base, this is base, power p. So this is going to be the conversion of the logarithmic form to simple equation. All right, okay. So that was basically some idea about the, log functions and that content. Now let's talk about some properties of logs. This is very, very important. Just like you guys study properties of indices, here we have some properties of logs. Okay, let's talk about it. Properties of logarithms. Okay, this is what we need to discuss, and at this point we will only be talking about three properties. So the first one is log xy equals to log x plus log y. Then the second one is log x by y is equal to log x minus log y. And then the third one is log x power n is equal to n log x. This thing would get better once we talk about the questions. Okay, now here you cannot see any base. When you do not have any base, it means that all the bases are same. For example, if you talk about the first property, base could be 10 here, then the same base would come here, the same base would come here. Base could be A and A. Base could be B and B. That is fine, okay? The idea is if we have two numbers and they're being multiplied with one log, we can write it down as a sum, log x plus log y. Similarly, if you have two numbers which are being divided, I can write it as a difference, log x minus log y. And if I have power n, this power can be multiplied here. And this is what I am going to get. Okay, let's practice some questions and then things would get even better. Let's talk about some questions at this point. So now the fourth question says, express these as a single log or number. Okay. So it says, question number 4. Express the following as a single log or a number. Okay. Part A says log 5, 4 plus log 5 and 7. So what do we see? We have two different logs, but the logs are technically same because their bases are same. So for same logs, what do we know? When we have same logs and when we have a plus sign, we can write it as a product with one log only. Okay, so I can write this thing as log base 5 and 4 multiplied by 7. So it would give me log base 5 with 28. And I'm not sure about its numerical value, so I would just leave it as a log. But if I talk about the second part of the question, now the second part says log base 6 4 plus log base 6 9. What would be happening here? Again, we have a plus sign. I can write it as log with the same base I can multiply 4 and 9 and it would give me log 6, 36. And now I can see that for some power of 6, I might get 36. So I can write the same thing as log 6, 6, 2. Now again, we can use another property that you can take this n over here, right here. So this can be written as 2 log 6, 6, and log 6, 6 is basically 1. So the answer is going to be 2. So it completely depends upon the numbers the examiner is giving. If the examiner says express the following as a log or as a number, you can simply just see if you are able to find the numerical value of that log, then go for it. Otherwise, you can just leave it as a log. Okay. All right. So this was the second part of the question. Let's talk about one last question. Okay, now this is basically a past paper question that's important. The question says, express these in terms of, one second, express this in terms of log x, log y, and log z. And what is the question exactly? The question is a bit complicated. It is log with a square root, and then we have a fraction. It's x cubed, y squared, divided by z power 4. This is what you need to write down as log x, log y, log z. You need to basically separate log x, log y, and log z. So let's talk about the solution for this question. Okay. First of all, I know that this square root is basically 1 by 2 as the power. So I can write it as log x cubed y square divided by z power 4, and instead of writing down square root, I'll write down its power, that is 1 by 2. Okay, then I'll just multiply 1 by 2 with all the powers. So it would give me log x 3 by 2, y 2 by 2 divided by z power 4 by 2. All right, now I need to simplify this entire thing. So it would give me log x power 3 by 2 y and z power 2. Okay. Next, what I can do is I can just write it down this way. So we have log x and y being multiplied. So I can write this thing as log x 3 by 2 log y with a plus sign because these two numbers are being divided, and then z squared is being divided, so I'll write it with a subtraction sign and it would be log z square. Now I can take these numbers over here. This would become 3 by 2 log x. This would be simply plus log y, and this number would come here, so it would become minus 2 log z, and this is going to be the answer. The examiner just said that you had to find out this expression in terms of log x, log y, and log z. and we are done with that. So what happened initially, we had the square root, we converted square root to power 1 by 2. We just multiplied all the powers, we simplified. Now these two numbers x and y were being multiplied, so I wrote it with a plus sign. This was divided, so with a subtraction sign, and I've just taken these powers in the beginning, and this is going to be the simplified version of the answer. So that is how we basically do these questions. The idea is same. We just use this formal definition that we discussed in the very beginning, and every question can be easily solved using this idea. So that is it. I hope you guys were able to understand each and everything. In case of any query, any question, just use the link in description to get yourselves enrolled for our live classes, so that we can just, cover all the questions and a good number of past paper questions. And yeah, that is it. So I'll see you next time. Take care, all of you. Allah Hafiz.